The views and opinions expressed on this station do not reflect the owners, management, staff, clients, or partners. Medical House presents Bermuda's most viewed and listened to talk show. The Daily Hour starts now.
It's Wednesday, the 23rd day of September. Welcome to the Daily Hour, brought to you by Medical House and Lindo's. I'm Jamal Hartman, along with Carla Zul. Thanks for making us part of your daily routine. If you haven't already, we say it every day. You know what to do. Share the link, start a watch party, get the conversation out there to your network. Another good one for you today. We have another One Bermuda Alliance candidate for Constituency 25, John Brunson. And then the daily play is a Say It, Don't Sing It. So Carla will be guessing, not singing, the lyrics to a song. I'm not quite sure anyone's going to get this right off. So this is a good one for you today, a very good one. A lot to discuss, though, especially before our guest arrives today. First off, I want to commend the young people from Bermuda Youth Connect, putting on an awesome event with some of the candidates and elected, as Jason Haywood is actually already elected in his seat. But that was a phenomenal event. I mean, I don't know how old these young people are. I don't know any of them, but I mean, their questions on point. I was just like, man, how's he going to answer? Because I don't speak out of turn. So if you ask me about climate change, I would not know what to say. I would probably be like, yeah, this is something that we should be looking into because of all that's happening. But they ask some very interesting questions. I think politics, people have strengths and weaknesses, and climate change definitely is not one of my strengths that I would have been able to speak on. Maybe social justice and social issues, and a little bit about the economy. There's kind of things, but they were impressive, and they deserve a hell of a lot of props for that. Did you see any of it?
I just saw the beginning. I was actually driving, so I just saw the beginning, and then I had to drive. So unfortunately, no.
Okay, yeah, no, it was very long. I caught the majority of it. That's usually the time that I go for my evening walk, and I had to hook it up, so I missed a bit when I was transferring over, and then in the end, I didn't catch as much as Desmond Crockle, but they were impressive. But let's move on. Yesterday, led by Kean Dickinson of Bermeems, there were a group of people, including former CEO of Bermuda Broadcasting, Rick Richardson. I think Charles Jeffers Sr. was there as well. They were calling for a debate amongst the leaders of the political parties. And I have a question for everyone today. The question is very simple. Do you agree? Do you believe that the Premier, David Burt, should accept an invitation from the young people who are calling for a debate between all three leaders? What do you think, Carla?
I think he should. I think I've heard his statement be saying he feels that he should only participate in a debate where the only two parties that have the potential of becoming the ruling party, he'd participate with that. But I think the young people, everyone wants to hear from everybody. I think it's almost kind of snobby, almost to. I mean, let's be for real. He's talking about the FDM. It's almost arrogant, like they're lesser than. And I think why take that for granted that people wouldn't, that you can't debate them because they're not got a full slate of candidates.
Well, no, I definitely understand you. And let me just I did ask the premier this morning. I was talking to the premier this morning. Now, he did ask him, did he accept or did he not accept? And the reason I asked him was because Media Maya, who's been on this show before, had shared 2 videos. One earlier at the press conference where the premier said his stance is not changing, and then one at the PLP platform release party or rally or whatever it was. Launch. Thank you. They said that the premier had accepted. And so I asked him this morning, and he pretty much said, he shared a screenshot. He said, I've been consistent since nomination day, right? And, he said after this election, there are only 2 people who can become premier. If there is a leaders debate, I will participate on those terms. It hasn't changed. I then said to the premier, or if FDM wins 14 seats, PLP 13 seats, and OBA 9, what happens? A coalition government, right? He said incredibly creative. Now, I share this, folks. I share this because this is not personal. And let me be very clear on my stance. I honestly don't care for platforms, and I don't necessarily care for debates. I care about how the government governs and how what they've done, like the government that's in power leading up to the election, what they've done that impacts the way I'm able to live. That's one. And then 2, the opposition, how they basically operate in opposition. That's what concerns me. So I'm not really interested in necessarily a debate or the platforms, but that's me. However, if a certain part of the electorate is demanding from you, the leader of the country, if they're demanding a debate, I just think it is so anti-progress and anti-everything that this political party actually stood for, to deny the electorate, part of that electorate, what they're asking for. So I think it's a huge mistake on the part of Premier David Burke to not participate when these young people are literally crying for it. And my hope is that he understands, and those around him who advise him, family, friends, colleagues, help him understand why this is probably not the best stance to take. A lot of comments coming in.
Now, if you care to share, Mo,
Go ahead.
Can you define, in your opinion, what could be a huge mistake?
Yeah, I just said not doing the debate, ignoring a certain part of the electorate.
I know. No, I got you. I'm talking about what you think could be some effects of doing that. That's what I meant.
What do you mean? I'm not understanding.
No, I heard you. He's ignoring a potential. I'm saying, for example, do you mean at the next election he could be voted out, or his party, he could upset his party? I'm asking, what do you think could be?
Yeah, if I'm saying it's a huge mistake, obviously it could cost people their seats. Right now, and I'll share this on a later date, the PLP are already losing 4 seats right now. I have 4 seats picked up, which they're going to lose. Now, I also have them picking up 2 seats, right? Now, if the premier decides that he's not going to meet with these young people, how would you feel as a young person? How do they feel? Are they going to say, you know what? Well, he's not my candidate anyway. Renee Ming is. I'm still going to vote for her. Are they still going to vote for her if they feel like that's how her leader feels, and she has not convinced him to do better? You feel me? So it could cost them a few seats, a few extra seats that they already are likely to lose. Sharon Bailey, Jamel and Carla, I haven't been online for a few days, and Jamel, you've had a haircut. No, I haven't had a haircut. Thank you, though. I hope that's a good thing.
Yeah, one day.
Elizabeth, without a doubt, but I'm biased. Not sure what that's about. I'm sorry. I'm just getting to the comments. Leslie Swan says definitely D. Burt should participate in a debate. Yes, I think Premier Burt should participate in debate. My question is: this a spar between him and Mark? What do people really want? Is my question. Okay, so I just don't understand that a party that was all about this kind, fighting for this kind of thing for the people, why are there so many excuses of why not to do it? That's what's like a bit indifferent to me. So I don't think it's about him and Mark. I think the question is, why not debate Mark? Why not do a debate where Mark's in there? Because like I said, we can think all we want that the PLP has this in the bag. But there are a lot I'm telling you, 90% of PLP folk thought they had 2012 in the bag. I'm not saying the same thing's going to happen, but you cannot be dismissive of any part of the electorate if we've learned anything. And I just think this is bad for the PLP, for their leader not to make adjustments for a certain segment in the community. As stated, I will share the seats at a later date, so you got to keep watching. I will share 4 seats that I think, I'll give you a hint. One of the seats I think the OBA are going to win is the person we have on today. Tell you that much. But, Robert Durham says, I would love to see a debate. I love debates. They're healthy for democracy. Again, personally, for me, neither here or there, but this is not about me. This is not about Jamel Hartman. This is not about Carl Azul. This is not about any individual listener. This is about a whole group of young people who we should be happy have an interest in politics. We shouldn't be shunning them and acting like their opinions don't matter. And we definitely shouldn't. I say on this show often that my mind can be changed. I may say something today and then someone, hit me up after the show and talk to me and I think about it. And I'm like, actually, that makes sense. And come back with a different mindset. For the premier to be so steadfast in his, my position has remained the same is a bit unfortunate. It's a bit unfortunate because as a politician, you should be open to change that you believe is going to improve your community. And I'm not quite sure. Go ahead.
I'm sorry, I can't understand why he wouldn't do it. It could be the potential for him to gain more or new voters or followers. I don't get it.
And that's it. I may be taking a reach here, but it comes across as if the Premier David Burt is literally afraid to debate Mark Bean. That's what it comes across to me. I don't have any, that's how it reads to me. To go through these lengths to avoid having a debate with the political leaders. And it's almost an insult to Mr. Cannonair, I'll debate him. I can handle it. But I'll find a way not to debate Mark Bean. But as I just stated, one must not be so arrogant and ignore the facts. And the fact is, as a friend texted me these numbers, said, but the FDM can win 14 seats, the PLP 13, and OBA 9. But let me give you another scenario now. Let's say the FDM and OBA win 20 seats combined, and the PLP 16. Let's say the FDM and OBA combined win 19, 17. What we can't do is allow the premier's message to dismiss the fact that a coalition government could end the PLP's reign. I am in no way suggesting that Mark Bean and the OBA are working together. I'm not suggesting that. What I'm saying is one should not be so arrogant to believe that this cannot happen. It's yeah. I don't know, Carla Ferrari Woods.
This is your baby, so I just have to listen. The debate gives other parties a platform which their current PR doesn't afford them. No upside. This is 4, but it cut off. So.
Got you. Shamari Talbot, someone must be advising the premier not to take on the. Well, I stated that. I said I hope, people are not advising him not to do this, because I would definitely say it's poor advice. Charles Jaffers, Carla.
The problem is perception is that the premier and the PLP are being arrogant and not listening to people. People's perception is their reality. Hashtag DebateGate.
I would agree with that as well, Charles. Is their perception is the reality, and the way it comes across, at least in that press conference last night, was extremely arrogant to some people. Let's read a few more. We have to get to Carla and the news, and then we'll bring our guest on for the day, John Brunson from Constituency 25 on Bermuda Alliance, which is a very it's a marginal seat in the by-election won by Curtis Dickinson. Prior to that, won by Jeff Barron by a similar rate of the OBA. Prior to that, Mark Pettingill. Prior to that, Dale Butler. So this is a seat that has been very historically swung either way, and I would be worried for that seat. I don't know Mr. Brunson. Let me keep that personally. Never met him, but I would be worried because, again, if people are voting on emotion and things like this are happening that the premier is doing, again, the people may not be able to vote for the premier, but they can certainly vote against his party. Keep that in mind. I'm not suggesting it, but we just have to be realistic about what we're discussing. Two more comments, Carla, Jody, Eve.
I also believe Bart is missing the point. They are calling for the party leaders to debate, not for possible leaders that are able to lead the country on next election. Very good point.
In fairness, who's to say that David Bart's going to bring the premier on October 2nd? I mean, we've seen this happen before. Who says his own political party is not going to make their own moves? I mean, look, this is politics. Trust does not exist. Let's be real. Elizabeth says, like Keane stated in the press conference, there are no losers in a debate. The young electorate want to hear what our leaders have to say to compare and contrast leadership styles, and they deserve that. All right, so let's take a quick break. Thank you all for tuning in. Please share the link, start a watch party. We may actually come to you on Sunday on our YouTube channel. If you haven't subscribe to the YouTube channel, please do the Daily Hour. The link is on our Twitter and Facebook accounts. But we're going to go to the news with Carla, and then we'll come pay some bills and come back with this morning's guest, Mr. John Brunson, candidate for Constituency 25 in the One Bermuda Alliance. All righty.
The Association of Bermuda Insurers and Reinsurers released the results of its 15th annual ABARE Bermuda Economic Substance Survey, detailing significant contributions to the Bermuda economy and workforce. A spokesperson saying, highlights from the report, which tracks 2019 calendar year data include, ABARE members contributed over $830 million to the Bermuda economy, up $15 million from calendar year 2018. Bermudians represent nearly 80% of ABARE's member workforce, a record high. ABARE's members invested more than $131 million on local construction, real estate, housing, and leasing. And that was courtesy of Bernews. Meanwhile, a 53-year-old Queens, New York woman has been charged with a hate crime for allegedly throwing a glass bottle at a passing jogger and using a racial epithet last month. Lorena Del Laguna appeared in court yesterday on charges of attempted assault in the second degree as a hate crime and aggravated harassment in the second degree. If convicted, she could be sentenced to 7 years in prison. Mars will change the name of its Uncle Ben's rice products to Ben's Original and drop the logo depicting a Chicago head waiter as part of the company's previously announced plans to create a more inclusive brand. The revamped Ben's products, which feature the same blue font and orange packaging, will hit shelves in 2021. Both stories were courtesy of CNN. Turning to news in the UK, hospitality business owners have hit back at the government over the new 10 curfew, saying it will cause chaos for the already battered industry. Pub, restaurant, and bar owners and industry professionals from across England told Metro News they have already lost customer bookings, while some have made redundancies amid the uncertainty of the new measures. One said closing during the busiest trading hours will be the nail in the coffin for their already struggling restaurant. Okay. Do you know what today is, Jamal?
I don't, Carla. What is it?
Come on.
Sign Language Day?
Today is the International Day of Sign Languages. I just said
See,
my name is Carla. Did you Did you know there are roughly 72 million deaf people in the world? One day to celebrate International Day of Sign Languages is to increase awareness. A lot of people do not know that there are different types of sign languages. They also don't know about the numbers regarding how many people around the world rely on sign languaging. Take it upon yourself to educate others on this day. Turning to weather, Bermuda's high today will be 78, while the high in Huntsville, Alabama will be 72 and 59 in Leicester, UK. And don't forget, Medical House is your number one source of PPE supplies, masks, face shields, disinfectants, sanitizers, gloves, gowns, no-touch thermometers, and so much more at the lowest prices. Visit Medical House at 22 Millreach Lane in Pembroke. And on a programming note, don't forget to tune in to the full100radio.com tonight for nighttime jams featuring some of your favorite romantic classics. That's your daily hour news break.
All right, thanks, Carla, for that. Yeah, it's Sign Language Day. I got
one more thing.
What?
You know what this means? It's to you.
What? I love you stuff. That's what that means. See, I know sign language. I know sign language. I'm gonna take a quick break. Come back with today's guest, Mr. John Brunson. Thanks again to everyone that's commenting. Just want to touch on this real fast. Hope we take this break. Is it arrogance or confidence? Should a leader be showing vulnerability? Let me be very clear. Our guest tomorrow, Dr. Euro Brown, I would say he was an extremely confident man where people thought he was arrogant. I'm not quite sure I get the same vibe from the current premier. I'll leave it at that. All right.
Good day, Medical House Store speaking. Can I help you?
Medical House is Bermuda's leading one-stop shop for healthcare.
I found myself being a caregiver. Even though I was a nurse, I still needed help on, what was available in hospital beds and all that kind of equipment, and I knew where to go. I went to Medical House.
Bermuda's top doctors, dentists, care homes, and the hospital choose Medical House for a wide range of products. These same professional quality products are available to you for home health care.
I was very pleased with Medical House and the help they gave me when I most needed it.
Your experience with Medical House is about getting your needs met, but we also try to provide knowledge to help you through whatever you're experiencing.
Medical House is on Millreach Lane in Pembroke, where there's private parking right outside the door.
I would recommend them to anybody.
Call or visit Medical House today.
This month, we're featuring something very special. Aloe drinks in 4 delicious flavors. Aloe drinks start with the natural benefits of real aloe vera, hand-picked and pressed, ensuring goodness that is straight from the leaf, never from powder. This crisp, refreshing base of real aloe vera pulp is then enhanced with a mix of real fruit juices to create a variety of unique flavors. Try aloe drinks with real aloe vera. They go beyond their luscious taste to make you feel amazing from the inside out. Lindos, why go anyplace else?
Tune in to the Full 100 Radio every Tuesday through Sunday at 7 p.m. Bermuda time as we bring you the love, romance, sexiness with nighttime jams. Only on your station for conversations and entertainment. The Full 100 Radio. Download the app available for Android and Apple devices.
Welcome back to the Daily Hour, brought to you by Medical House Lindos. Also give much props to the Ministry of Health as well as the Bermuda College this week. Anyone who's got the skills and like to be a professor, they are having some information sessions. So look out for that commercial and more information later on during this episode. So thanks to them. Don't forget, there's so many different ways to tune into this show. If you want to view us, you have the Facebook options, the YouTube options, Twitter, Twitch, as well as the websites, thefull100radio.com and thedailyhour.com. If you just want to listen to us, you can download the app available for Android and Apple, thefull100radio.com. But there's absolutely something for everyone. as stated and mentioned, we will be bringing in our guest, Mr. John Brunson, OBA candidate, One Bermuda Alliance for Constituency 25. Sir, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me, Jamal and Carla.
It's Jamel.
Good morning.
Let's
Jamel,
solve.
sorry.
I'm very conscious about my name, but thank you for joining us. It's early, so we always appreciate people joining us. But I want to let's get right to the conversation. A lot of the younger voters who maybe this is their first time voting may know you more for your participation in SCARS, which is saving children and revealing secrets. Before we even get to the conversation about why you've chosen to run, speak to us about your work there and what it means for the community, and as well as you participating in the upcoming election.
Thank you. Actually, really, thank you for giving me the platform to speak about the work that SCARS is doing. I am now the former chairman of SCARS. I have been the chairman for almost a decade. And the beauty about SCARS, really, its story is about taking a tragedy and moving it to triumph. It is celebrating the story of a child abuse or child sexual abuse victim that knocked on every door and walked every path to advocate for her daughters. And at every step, it was never easy to get the help that she needed and to see that justice was done for her daughters as a result of a trusted individual that violated them. And I had known Debbie Ray almost all my life. We went to school together. And I always say it's a story of how well do you know someone. As well as I knew Debbie, I never really knew her story. And when she told me her story about what happened to her, she's a survivor of sexual abuse. She's a product of rape, and both her daughters were sexually abused. The minute I heard that, and reflecting on the position she was in, I knew that no longer was it a time for us to talk about the issue and to advocate for people. And Debbie and I combined to form the organization SCARS, and our mission is to advocate for children that have been sexually abused and work with the affected families. The harsh reality about the crime of child sexual abuse is that, in Bermuda, 1 in 3 residents of Bermuda will have been affected by child sexual abuse by the time they're 18. Now, I know that's hard to believe. That's our reality. And what we are trying to do is to end and prevent this crime from happening. And child sexual abuse is preventable. And we do that by creating greater awareness to the community about what the crime is and really bringing about greater awareness to change the hearts and minds of people if we really believe that child protection is a priority. And we challenge the adult community because I don't think any one of your listening audiences will disagree. It's an adult's responsibility to protect children. But what we found day in and day out is that that statement is challenged. And our mission has been to really advocate for change in the hearts and minds of people and create a movement. But also to ensure that the legislation matches the movement of the people. Bermuda has been identified as the first country in the world to have reached tipping point. And that means that more than 5% of the adult population has been trained in preventative training, and we use a tool called the Stewards of Children. And that behavior, once you reach that 5%, behavioral change starts to gain its own momentum. And to date, we've trained almost 10,700 adults in the Stewards of Children. And we've trained even more in our other services and awareness programs to help prevent the scourge of child sexual abuse because it can be prevented.
Got you. Good. I mean, and I think, we had a comment even just saying SCARS is awesome. I think everyone should do the course. So it's definitely made a great impact. I mean, in my chat groups where many of my friends, we usually just talk about, sports, football. It's come up in there, and everyone encouraged to do it. So thank you for your work, and obviously Ms. Debbie Ray Rivers for doing that. Moving on, you've been a member of Parliament previously under the United Bermuda Party, but why have you decided to run again this time around for the One Bermuda Alliance? What was the biggest factor in you choosing to do so?
One of the biggest factors is I am really an advocate for the vulnerable, and I mean, obviously, SCARS is a huge passion of mine, and I will never stop being an advocate for children. I mean, I'm a father myself, and so when I hear these tragic stories, I always reflect on what would I do if I had to deal with the trauma that the families and the victims of child sexual abuse have to deal with. But when I say I advocate for the vulnerable, it really is a platform that's personal to me. We talk about the aged. My mother's 95 years old. She's a senior. And I see the struggles that we have to go through as a family to ensure that personally, what we have to do to ensure my mother's safety, her health and well-being. And I know that I'm not alone in those concerns. And how do you navigate the system? If you need a caregiver, how do you negotiate and identify services that you can provide? And many times you don't think about this until it happens. Right. I also am extremely passionate about those children that have learning differences. I have spent years, decades, advocating for children with learning differences. I've worked and have been the president of the Learning Disability Association of Bermuda. And I work with an amazing school called Bermuda Center for Creative Learning, which actually helps to develop and enable children with learning differences to achieve their full potential. And it's personal to me. And so one of the reasons why I got back into the arena is because the House of Assembly provides a greater platform to affect the change that's necessary. And it's not just a matter of affecting the change of hearts and minds and creating a movement, but it is affecting the legislation that matches the desire of the people. And you were talking about whether David Burke should debate the other party leaders, right? Mm-hmm. And you said something that really sparked a thought for me. And the thought was, the greatest opposition to a government is the will of the people, right? And the will of the people needs to have a platform in the House of Assembly. And, look, I could continue to do what I'm doing, and but change that requires legislative change accompanied by the support of the people. And I say power to the people, because that's where the change is going to come from. And I want to be that conduit in the House of Assembly to make that happen.
Indeed. What are some of the most pressing issues that you've heard so far on the doorstep?
It's interesting, right? People are concerned about education. Actually, what I would say, the thing that really hurts me and really touches my heart is that there are a lot of good, honest, hardworking people who, through no fault of their own, nobody expected COVID. Nobody even understood what COVID would mean to them. But today, they're trying to figure out, how are they going to work? Where are they going to work? I mean, look at a hotel like Southampton Princess and the number of employees that they have. That hotel is not open, and it most likely won't open until 2021 or 2022. But what do people do in the meantime? We have COVID, right? What people want to know is, what's next? Because that what's next response will determine what's going to happen to them. In my parish, Christchurch Ward, they have a food bank. That food bank is feeding and having to feed more and more people every day. that sends a message that there are people who are barely making what they need to survive. And you know, these are the issues and things that we have to step up and address. This is what I'm hearing on the doorstep. People are hurting, and you know, many people are suffering in silence, and that's our young people, and that's our matriarchs and patriarchs. And you know, these things hurt. I feel the hurt, and it's personal. And so these are the things that I'm hearing. And all these things are then backed and supported by what we already know. I mean, we have to educate our children. Education is the gateway to opportunity. And when I say education, and again, you know, looking at and working with children with learning differences, education is a gateway to opportunity. And that can mean from an academic perspective or vocational perspective. A lot of talk has been had for years about this issue. But we're beyond that now, because when you look back, how many people have lost ground to the lack of education? And people caring that they learn. And you know, the truth of the matter is we can't do anything unless we have a strong economy. And we can't be a one-trick pony and think that we can borrow our way out of this trouble. We can't.
Yeah.
And I have to tell
Mr.
you,
Brunson, go ahead.
Oh, okay. And Bermuda can't do this as a fragmented island. We have to work together. That's labor and business. That's black and white. That's Tuckerstown and Middletown, right? And we have to find our way to identify common ground. We can't work at odds with each other because we won't get anywhere.
Now, talking about the economy, on your profile on the party's website, you say Bermuda's economy was fragile before COVID-19 and is even more precarious now with the government providing no concrete direction on how to manage the what's next. Should the OBA win the election, how will it get Bermuda through the what's next?
So you have to really dissect what that means, right? So that you can address it effectively. So we have to grow the economy. How do you grow? You grow the economy by creating an environment that will attract new business, that will create jobs for our young Bermudians. So how do you do that? And what are the impediments that international business or businesses that are interested in locating in Bermuda run into? And that is the time frame in which it takes them to be able to set up. I think we need to leverage off of technology to streamline the pace at which that happens. You see, time is money. I think people understand that. And they look at Bermuda, they look at other destinations which may not be as attractive as Bermuda because of our pristine regulatory environment. But if it's easier to set up somewhere else, and they can essentially do what they want to do, Cayman, for example, they will do that. And there are lost opportunities to Cayman. And we have to, they're a competitor, whether we want to accept that or not. And we have to figure a way to become more competitive. And we hear things, about grow the economy. That's one way to do it. And we have to make ourselves more attractive by alleviating those types of roadblocks. And we do have to look for new industry. And we don't have to look far, because all we need to see is how is the world changing, and how are we as an island adapting to those world changes, and how can we leverage and capitalize on that? And we need to really focus on these types of opportunities. See, what happens is we talk about it, and then kind of trickles forward. And, I also say in my piece, it's no longer a time for inaction. But we can only demonstrate that by what we do. And, that's one aspect of how I think about growing the economy. The other thing is, looking for efficiencies and how we utilize our own resources, our people. Bermuda is international business mecca, or one of them, right? And I think we need to foster a really good working relationship where we can mentor our young people and provide that opportunity for mentorship. But the thing is, things don't happen if we talk about it. Things happen if you have intent behind your words.
Indeed. Just want to wrap, because we have a lot of we have questions coming in, and we have a lot more to get to, so we just want to keep it flowing. Just want to go back. In 2017, Jeff Barron of the OBA won constituency 25 by 53.53%. Of the he resigned in 2018, I believe. When he resigned, Curtis Dickinson, the now finance minister, won it by 55.56%. Both parties obviously feel like this is a key marginal seat. What are you doing to ensure that you win this seat for the One Bermuda Alliance?
What I'm doing is I'm trying to be very strategic about it, given the time that I have to run as a candidate. I've formulated a social media campaign to share what my thoughts are about issues. I am walking door to door, knocking on people's door, even in the midst of COVID. Social distancing, obviously, with the mask, to meet and greet people and constituents of Warwick Northeast. I think one thing that the constituents of Southampton West Central would say about me, and one of my objectives as a potential elected member of parliament is, and I think one of my greatest achievements was to gain the trust and respect of my constituents. And I do recognize that Warwick Northeast is an important seat. And I do recognize that in order to win the trust and respect of the constituents, you need to know who I am and how I think. And one of the things that I say is, I see you, I hear you, and I feel you. And I say those three statements in that order. I see you, I've met you. I hear you, I'm willing to listen to what you have to say, what your issues are, and what you think about me and my party, whether you agree or disagree, right? And I feel you, because this is personal to me. Your pain is my pain. My family feel the issues just like everybody else. I have family members who aren't working and they're trying to figure out how. So, so your pain is my pain. I want what you want. I will be your advocate.
Outside of the economy, what has concerned you most about the PLP's time in office? And what are you prepared to do about those concerns?
I mean, one of the things that I think has concerned me, and it's an area that I guess you could say I'm somewhat of a subject matter expert, and that's child protection. Now, I don't want to sit here and say that the government hasn't done anything to move the dial on child protection. They have. But they have a motivation to do that. And that motivation are youth-serving organizations that are advocates for children. SCARS being one of them. The Coalition for the Protection of Children is another. The Family Center is another. The Interagency Committee is another. And we have combined forces to advocate for the change and the legislative change that's necessary. Because we realize that if left to their own devices, things would happen at a pace that would still enable children to be harmed. And any child harmed is one too many. And saying don't put off tomorrow for what you can do today is the view. We know that You can make it mandatory with the stroke of a pen for anyone responsible for the caregiving of children to be trained. That's low-hanging fruit. Why hasn't that been done?
Yeah.
Okay? It's things like that, and it's combining forces to really empower to a movement to advocate for change and create an environment for the protection of children. That's one thing, Carla. Another is really advocating for children who have learning challenges and education in general. And I keep emphasizing learning challenges because that demographic of talented, young, smart Bermudians are marginalized. And a lot of times we don't even understand what drives it. We hear things about ADD, ADHD, ODD, and what happens is kids go to school and they're smart, but they're marginalized because they learn differently. And what do they result to? They result to self-medicating, and they feel ostracized. And one thing I learned, Boston Children's Hospital said, leaving them in that type of environment would be like killing them softly. Think about that. And here's a common theme. Sorry, Jamal. It's an adult's responsibility to protect children. And when it comes to education, if you think about that saying, leaving them in an environment where they can't learn and be successful is like killing them softly, how are we protecting our children?
Yeah, I thought that, I think during the PLP's term this time around, that was a topic that I'm surprised has not been brought up a bit more often. The whole child protection issue. I mean, it was some serious investigative reporting done by, I believe it was Sam Strangeways of the Royal Gazette. So I definitely understand your passion with that. Running out of time, so I really just want to touch on a couple other things. Obviously, based on the results of the 2017 election, the OBA had a pretty rocky time as government between 2012 and 2017, if those results anything to go by, right? How are Bermudians, the electorate, supposed to trust that the One Bermuda Alliance will actually do better this time around?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. And to be honest, there's no simple answer to that question. But what I will say to the Bermudian electorate is this. And I actually even see it on my social media feeds. We talk about the decisions that the OBA made, right? And I'm not here to relitigate those decisions. But whether you agree with the OBA's position when they were government or not, whether you agree with the decisions that the OBA made as a government or not, the fact of the matter is, right, that the greatest opposition to a government is the will of the people. And in the last election, the people spoke, okay? And the OBA lost the government. My hope was that this current government would learn. What we see is that they're just continuing on a way, and I think in your podcast, people were saying there's arrogance, they're not listening. I have an old adage, first seek to understand and then to be understood, my brother. And that is a change that I am advocating within our party. We bring to politics. So technology evolves, the way we learn evolves. And what I want to say, whoever sits in the House of Assembly, whether I'm there or not, we have to evolve as politicians. And the electorate have to hold us accountable.
Indeed. Got a question from the audience. Sharon A. Bailey says, John, what is your stand on healthcare?
Oh my gosh. I mean, healthcare, that's, I live and breathe healthcare. A healthy life is important, okay? I find it interesting. Everybody's talking about COVID. We talk about hand sanitizing, social distancing, all those types of things, right? But no one talks about the greatest defense we have to any virus, whether it's a flu, a cold, it's our own health and well-being. But when you talk about healthcare, the conversation around healthcare is critical, because if we are really going to fight this pandemic or any other pandemic, we have to deal with those issues that make us vulnerable: obesity, high blood pressure, diabetes, and many of those things are the choices that we make. And those choices, I mean, you can tell people not to smoke, but they smoke anyway. You can tell people that sugar is not good for you, but they're going to eat the chocolate bar anyway, right? But what we have to do is really change hearts and minds about why, and give them choices. And sometimes you have to accept, right, that you have to work for the common good. And we have to start this conversation with our children so that they learn good behaviors. And then you start a cycle that starts to build on itself. And then you work on the present, here and the now, and constantly create an environment where people are aware of what healthy choices are and can make healthy choices. The other side of that equation is healthcare has to be affordable. Universal healthcare is a critical tool for families and individuals.
Mm-hmm.
But universal healthcare has to be affordable. People have to have choice.
Indeed. So
accessible.
We have to go. It's certainly an hour show, but you are a fan of universal healthcare, just not what the government was proposed. Yes or no?
Yes, of universal healthcare.
Universal healthcare. All righty.
And I want to say there's a difference. Okay, there's universal healthcare and there's unified. Okay, universal healthcare is different. The unified is kind of like, I hope you'll understand, it's a single payer system.
Mm-hmm.
Universal, people have choice.
Indeed.
And let me tell you, why wouldn't you want to have choice?
Indeed. We honestly, we have to run. But before I let you go, right? Your name, John, not Jen. It's Jamel, not Jamal. Just want to make sure we're clear going forward. I'm very sensitive to your name, all right? But Mr. Brunson, thank you so much for making the time to come on this show. All welcome to come back. All the best in the upcoming election to you and your team. All right.
And Jamel, I do apologize for misspelling your name because I am just as sensitive as you are, because most people spell my name John and it's Jon.
I got you.
So much respect and my apologies. And
No
Carla,
problem.
thank you very much. I hope you have me back because I love your subject matter, and I really want to applaud what you do. And I am excited that you give people a platform that normally wouldn't have an opportunity to speak the truth. And this is the grassroots discussion that Bermuda needs to continue. And Carla, you guys are awesome. Keep it up.
Appreciate you, Mr.
Thank
Brunson.
you.
All the best in the election.
Thank you.
Alrighty. All right, going to take a quick break, and we'll be back with the daily play, and then Carla's got some inspiration.
Bermuda College has facilitated the success of thousands of Bermuda students since 1974. Today, we take great pride in providing quality instruction, innovative education, and unparalleled student support. Bermuda College is now seeking to extend its tradition of customized commitment by recruiting credentialed faculty who share our passion for delivering instruction that will inspire and challenge minds.
For as long as I can remember, I've had a passion for showing students how relevant mathematics is outside of the classroom. Teaching at Bermuda College has afforded me the opportunity to do just that. Using various forms of technology and ever-evolving pedagogy, I make the curriculum come alive for the students. And when they understand it, every moment of preparation was worth it.
To learn more, plan to attend one of the online information sessions. Times and webinar details are on the college website at college.bm.
All right, welcome back to Daily Hour. Carla Zul, myself, Jamel Hartman. Thanks again to Mr. Brunson for joining us today, having a conversation, upcoming election next week, Thursday already, October 1st. Daily Play, if you've never watched this show, it's a time when, our intelligence side shows. Yes, absolutely. All right, here we go. Quote, "We danced all night to the songs they played. We can come again, do it just the same." End quote.
I know this song. Say it one more time, quick.
Quote,
We danced all night.
to the songs they played, we can come again, do it just the same.
Barris Hammond.
What
I
song?
got it! I got it! Oh my God, I'm so excited!
You're not
We
guessing the
danced
artist.
all night until the song is played. Can do that song. We can all again, yeah. I'm good. I'm excited.
It has a name
That's
though.
it,
Like
right?
you haven't said the name though.
Oh, I don't know. I can hear the music. I can hear the melody. What's the name of this song?
Help her out, Joe. Help her out. What's the name of the song?
Wait, I got some props, Mal. That was good. First guess.
Yeah, we'll give you half of the answer, but and no one knows the name of the song. No one's helping you out, Carla. You're messed up.
Do
you go.
it all the same. Rockaway.
Yeah.
Thanks,
remember-
DJ. Hey, Mr. DJ.
Yeah, that's the one.
Okay,
All right. So thanks again to Mr. Brunson for joining us again. Big conversation about the debate. Younger people seem to want the premier to join him for a debate. The premier is steadfast that there will be certain conditions if he's to do that. I'm not quite sure this is what the young people want. As voters, they are demanding something that the premier seems not to want to shake on. So obviously the premier is confident that he and his party will win the election regardless of whether they do what a certain segment of the electorate want or not, despite governing for all. So very interesting thing to keep watch of. Make sure you keep a close eye on that, because there should be some developments over time, one would think, as it relates to that. A lot of people started calling, look at them. They're trying to act like they helped you. You already got the answer, and they're trying to say Rockaway after. Look at them. That's how your friends are. They want to hit you up after. Yeah. Let's before the inspiration. Charles H. Jeffers too. One would think, however, it appears the OBA was caught flat-footed with the call of the election, so they may not have those talking points yet. They do have 8 days, and I think that was in reference to a comment that was made, good comment by Barbara Tanner. Doesn't the PR issue talking points respectfully? He's rambling on, and I think it got to that point for many people. People would tell you PR is. We had the young ladies, Zena and Nikki, on to speak about that. So I mean, PR plays a huge role in politics and talking points and making sure that people, if anything, remember why they should vote for you. So, you have anything inspiring for us, Carla? Not your singing. That's not that it's not inspiring. But.
Listen, I'm excited. I got it on the first go. We generate fears while we sit. We overcome them by action. Dr. Henry Link.
Overcoming fears. Gotta love a quote
So
like that.
Let's keep moving. Let's keep moving.
Yeah. Any final words?
No, have a great day, everybody. Be safe.
All righty. Don't forget.
Jamal, yeah, this is for you, Jamal.
Don't forget, everybody, we do have Dr. Ewart Brown joining us tomorrow, so should be an interesting conversation. Dr. Brown's funny. I'm not even going to, I'm gonna hurl him on the carpet about something he said to me last night, but it's going to be, I guarantee you, it's going to be one of your favorite conversations. I will say this much. David Burt, Premier Burt, gets a lot of credit for being, very active on social media, Twitter especially. And I always remind people that it was Ewart Brown when he was premier. He was probably, started that for Bermuda. And then between Paula Cox and Craig Cannoneer, it fell off. And then Michael Dunkley was very active, and now David Burt. I think he was, he started a lot of stuff you see today in terms of engagement and so on. Regardless of how you felt about his leadership, he did fill a lot of gaps. So I'm very interested in talking to Dr. Brown tomorrow, as well as on Friday, economist Craig Simmons. So on that note, folks, you know what we say at this time of the show. We appreciate you, we love you, and we thank you for making us part of your daily routine. If all goes well, Carla, Sherry, and myself will be back to do this again with you tomorrow.
Thanks for tuning in to the Daily Hour Brought to you by Medical House. All recorded episodes and highlights can be found at thedailyhour.com. Stay connected with us by following us at The Daily Hour on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter.